Hello and welcome to the Olympic Stadium. Well, actually, that's not entirely true as they're still applying the final touches, but we are on a rooftop overlooking the Olympic site here in the London borough of Newham. And now I'd like to introduce you guys to two of our most distinguished guests, Professor Goodman and his research fellow in criminology and sociology, Melania. Guys, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you.
Now, Professor Goodman, can you tell us a little bit about your project involving young people in Newham?
Yeah, well, we've been working with Brunel and Leeds Metropolitan Universities looking at young people identity and their faith, but we've been so impressed with the young people of Newham that we decided that we wanted to make this DVD to let them tell their own story.
Yeah, I have a religion. Yeah, I'm a Muslim, you know.
I'm a Buddhist.
I follow my own religion, Hindu.
I was brought up in a Roman Catholic family, but I decided sometime in my life that it wasn't really what I chose to be, so I'm kind of in the process of searching.
Do you follow a religion?
Yeah, I'm a Muslim, so I follow Islam.
I don't really follow religion, but obviously I believe there's a higher power in it.
I kind of identify myself as an atheist.
Newham is a place which is very, very diverse. Probably the most diverse community on the planet.
Obviously there's diversity in terms of ethnicity, but then there's differences in religion.
I don't think I see Newham particularly as a place of radicalisation, although certainly there are people of radical views in the borough, and indeed one of them attacked me in my constituency surgery last year. So it's certainly true there are views of that kind. But I think on the whole, as I experienced after I was attacked and people in the community responded and sent me messages subsequently, what people in Newham want is to get on with each other.
In Newham, it is very diverse, and people do from different cultures do come together and work together. Right now, I don't think there's any situations about faiths or anything like that, as we do try to learn each other's faiths, just like in college. Where I'm studying right now in UVic sixth form, every Wednesday there's an interfaith dialogue where people from different faiths can come together and just express their views about their faiths, because in this way we all know about each other's beliefs, and in that way we can gain respect for one another.
They have the same values, and honestly, when you ask people, this is interesting, all these different communities, I could ask you a question, I could say, what do you think that when we go out and survey them, what difference do you think we find between them? You know, the people from Africa, the people from the subcontinent, the people from England, the people from Eastern Europe, all over the world, what difference do you think we find? None. They all want the same things. Safe streets, jobs, if they've got kids they like good education, they all want the same things.
Wherever you go, you'll always find a church, and then on the same road there might be a masjid, and then the road behind it might be a
Sikh
temple or a Hindu temple.
I just think, especially with the younger ones, they're mixing very well. I don't know about the older ones, but the younger ones are mixing. They're having more of an understanding about each other's cultures and language and religion and so forth.
I think Newham is the most multicultural borough, I think, in the country, which is something to be really, really proud of.
I like the people.
In my road where I live in Forest Gate, I think we've got somebody from every continent possible, and we've probably got 50 different countries going down my road, and I love that.
The cultures are really diverse here. There's lots of different races, which makes it like one big, really nice community.
How you have so much choice here, because it's like if you just felt like going for Chinese, that's okay. You can just go to the corner and that's it. You've got a restaurant right there.
What do you think about the Olympics coming to Newham?
I think it's great, but the fact is I don't think the ordinary people will be able to afford the price ticket to be able to go to Olympics. Even though I live in Newham, I doubt very much if I can afford to buy a ticket to go to see any of the events, which I think is a bit sad, because we had to put up with all this roadwork, all this, unpleasantness. And not to be able to see anything, I think is a shame.
The only thing I don't like about Newham is like there's not enough like job opportunities for like people like our age and stuff like, and it's not really doing nothing for us like that. Like they got clubs and stuff, jobs and obviously workplace and stuff to help you find work, but like it takes so long to find a good job or even a decent job just to bring like a decent amount of money in and stuff like.
There's gangs some places, but they're okay. You walk past and you think there's nothing. So it's just, if you get past that, then it's okay.
The gangs hanging out on the street.
Growing up, like it wasn't really a positive time for young people because there was a lot of knife crime, a lot of gang crime.
It's like territories. If we go into somebody else's territory, they'd come to us and it would kick off.
So I thought maybe that what I realised was that because of this, young people were starting to be frightened. They had fear of going into the streets, but really the only thing that caused gang violence and knife crime was that young people around the borough didn't really know each other. So if I'm from one part of the borough and I didn't know another person from a different part of the borough, then I'll feel threatened or I'll feel like I should be against him just to represent where I'm from. But really it's not about that, because at the end of the day we'll have to know that we are all young people from the same borough, and that if we do end up working together we can actually achieve something.
Basically what he's doing, I think, is fantastic, because most of the people that are involved in postcode wars and the gangs and drugs and stuff, they do like music and they do like sports and stuff, but to be quite honest, it's more deep than what most people actually think it is. It's not as easy as people probably think. Oh yeah, it could be if, you know, the young mayor, you know, of Newham, you know, actually gets a few people off the streets. Yeah, but sometimes it's very difficult to leave the sort of life you walk into at an early age or an early stage of your life.
I think what I'll say is that there are plenty of examples around you of people who come from very similar backgrounds and who have achieved a lot. You as young people have to believe in yourself. You have to be smart. You have to use the resources around you to achieve your potential. Don't give up.
So there you have it, one of the main men there from Middlesex University. It's actually made me feel a little bit nostalgic, as I used to go to Middlesex. It's a great place to study. Anyway, sorry, back on point, back to Newham.
There's so many different types of people. There's loads of different opinions as well, so that does sometimes cause conflict. But I think it's a good thing that we have loads of opinions.
We are a fantastic group of different people who come together and who are tolerant of each other and who get on really well.
Okay, so the objects I'm going to donate to you today is this ball of clay, okay? I've considered carefully what shape it should take, and actually it should just remain as a ball, because at this point in time it has potential. And as soon as I start changing the shape of it, its potential becomes defined. Okay, so there you go, that's for you.
Something called a Dawa book. It's basically I was just walking down Green Street one day, and there was a stall with these books and other items as well. And what the people at the store did was they kind of distributed this for free for non-Muslims, as kind of like a way to encourage non-Muslims to be more tolerant of Islam and to actually learn what it's about and kind of just ignore the stereotypes.
Personality-wise, I brought a plush doll, which is based on an anime that I watch. The anime itself is about how someone who was really good at telling right from wrong, who was really pro-justice and make sure that the justice system worked correctly.
Pen, it just represents Newham to me, because to me Newham is pretty much all about my education, and I've been growing up here for a long time, and throughout the whole time that I've been here I've been in education, so it just shows that Newham's a great place for you to learn things and to grow up. Yeah.
What object have you brought today?
Okay, this is my object, and it's called the Wheel of Dhamma, and it's a Buddhist object, and it usually represents Buddhism, and it's used as a symbol.
I've got a lot of history there, and us Somalians, we're very patriotic, so we like where we're from.
I've had this tie for my whole 5 years at Langdon, and it's a huge, also that's in Newham, so it's, it kind of represents
a bit of both for me, and it's a huge part of me. It's really personal to me because, well, whilst wearing this tie, I've done all my growing up. It's like, 5 years of my life, a lot of important things happened. Then I've done my GCSEs, I've made so many new friends, and it's just really personal to me.
As I'm a teacher and as I spend a lot of time in primary and secondary schools, I have a little visual. I'm a visual learner, so this is a whole range of different people dressed in different ways, and that's the object I want to put into the project, because I think one of the things I talk about a lot in Newham is celebrating diversity.
The painting that was made for me by young people at the Minhaj al-Quran Mosque, and it's a painting of a scene from the Old Testament in the Bible about the life of Joseph, which is a very important story for Christians like me, but also a very important story for Muslims like those who did the painting. And so for me it's a picture that represents how people in Newham come together on the basis of faith, and here it is. And that was presented to me just a couple of weeks ago by young people from the Minhaj al-Quran in Forest Gate, who have a regular painting class.
Sorry, you want me to show something that shows my interests? Right, hang on. I've got a pen. This medal. This I won as the school cross-country champion. Mwah.
Newham was predominantly a white area, and you had a lot of the communities from the West Indies. Now you've got a variety of different communities living here, including the African, the Asian, the Eastern European communities. So it's building up, and it's very much a mix.
In terms of the diversity of the workplace, it's really interesting because it kind of stems from the history. And originally, the people that worked at the refineries in London would have been, East End people living local to the refineries. And what we've found really over the years is that those people have moved out of this area. And one of the things that we're very conscious of today is actually wanting to reverse that trend so that we are employing more local people. Because if we look at the numbers of local people that we employ, they're not as high as we'd like them to be. So actually increasing the diversity of our workforce by employing more local people is actually something that we're working towards right now.
Yeah, I'm originally from Pakistan. I'm a British citizen, and I'm running the shop for the past 35 years.
How long have you been working here?
35 years. Many people, every kind of people come down here. English, Pakistani, Indian, Asian, and Chinese. Now it's European, most of the people coming down here to do shoppings because everybody like the market. And everything is quite cheap and reasonable prices, so people are most happy. But one thing people complain about it because the parking is too much.
So my name is Abi, and I have been working over here for the last 2.5 years. It was nice to work over here, and in the Queen's Market it's now it's become like a family because everyone knows each other. The next door, which is next to you.
Many years ago, when I was younger than you, there used to be Jewish people. And there was South Africa, whatever they are, Africans in it, Caribbean people. Then there was a few Muslims and Bangladeshis, not a few. Now it's Bangladeshis and Muslims and everybody else. And I've looked at a few Russians now.
The great thing about Newham is it's very transitional, it's very changing, and there's always a future. I think we're about the future, and one of the things the Olympics is going to bring is a future in terms of saying there's going to be some amazing places there to look at. The world is going to be looking at us.
I'm really looking forward to the Olympics because I'm training for Usain Bolt.
We will be soon getting some new resources and amenities with the Olympic Village and stuff.
The Olympics, yeah, I think that's kind of good still because Stratford is the area where everyone's comes and that, innit? It's going to be the heart of London, innit? So it's good, innit? Somewhere close to us, innit? Something that we can all be proud of in a sense.
Sometimes I think about London as a sort of place where there are different
Chinese boxes opening up to different realities.
We should be proud of it. I think it's a fantastic place. Go back in the history of the world, there aren't many places with that sort of tolerance and that sort of respect for people. We've taken asylum seekers for centuries, people who have been kicked out of countries, and I think that's a sign of civilization. That's a sign of if you're struggling, we're a place of refuge.
It's kind of like having a little planet in one place.
We fly the flag of every country, every community that's represented here, but we fly it with the British flag. And our line is, we love and respect the communities we've got, but they're part of a bigger, broader English or British community.
It's nice to have kind of discussions with other people, and it's nice to know that there's other people from different faiths, because you feel more like you belong.